Hello everyone, this is Sunny with cmh3studio. Thank you for stopping by and watching this tutorial. It is the third tutorial I'm doing on databases in Codoozer. And this tutorial is all about searching within your database. And it started off as a request from a viewer who had a question about how do I search my database. And sure enough, uh, we were able to figure it out, or I was able to figure it out with some help from others, and about 250 prototypes where I would make a change into the Codoozer application, try it again, and go over it and over it until I got it working just as I needed. A couple of tips before we even get started is when you're working uh, on your apps, be sure to pay attention to the fields that you're actually populating. And I'll show you why here in a minute, where I've spent probably 4 hours trying to figure out why something wasn't working just to find out I put the wrong field in there. And so one of the things I want to talk about early on is actually someone else who does this type of tutorials, and that is the DIY entrepreneur. And I'll put a link in the description for this video. But this is a developer who is working on Codoozer and does a lot of English and Spanish tutorials regarding not just MobileCube but the new Codoozer platform as well. And please check him out. He's very awesome and he knows his stuff. And he was able to help me recently on a lot of things too. So if you haven't already, go to DIY Entrepreneur and subscribe. He is awesome. Alright, so back to our PowerPoint today. Alright, today we're going to go over working with database records, searching your database using keywords or a keyword, and you'll see that I set that keyword to appproperty.keyword in the Codoozer application. Events on each page are important. Why and when to use preload event or the onloaded event and the onreturned event. I found out that it makes a big difference, especially when you're filtering on a database and then coming back to that screen later. And then also, we're going to demo on the same Hump Day Haiku app that we've been working on for a week or so now. Alright, so if you remember, my database is in the haiku.json database field or file. It's the same 8 that I had before, but this is at the very beginning of your app. You have to say what is your database, and you have to specify the ID and the type, whether it's CSV or JSON, and then the source, which is that file right there. So when you launch the app, and let me get to the first page of it. When it first comes open, this button right here will take you to the what I would call the first page of the app, and this page right here is where I added my keyword search field. And so I believe one of the words I can search on is the word child. It gives me a little pop-up, says you're now filtering on that, and there's a haiku with the word child in it. I also put a search field on my listing similar to the first page, and I put the word test on a couple of haikus so I know that I can always find them. There should be 2, and there they are. And also when you search on your keywords, you can then select those haikus to review all of them, and of course it's got the same boundaries and limitations of when they are all listed there. So go to haikus. I'll also tell you what I did here. I put a filter button that clears the filter, and it lists all my haikus out again, all my records out again. And then of course you could work your way down to the first one and work your way up to the last one. Something broken there. Well, that's another little bug I probably have to figure out. Somehow my haiku definition's gotten limited. Let's clear that filter again and see if it's yet. Well, there's something else I gotta figure out. Somehow my list, when it gets filtered, is telling this screen that there's only 2, so I'll have to figure out where that's going buggy. But again, it's just let's get at least started into these parts here, the keyword and how you do that. Alright, so on this screen down here I put an input text type excuse me, and called it keyword, property.keyword. Probably should have got a glass of water, but I didn't. Wanted to get this knocked out as quick as I could. Alright, input type text, or the type is input text. My source is at property.keyword, and that's what's going to store what is entered here. So I use the source property.keyword as my search word. I use the magnifying glass as my action button. So this is the code for the button for the image right here that is going to do my action. And on click, I set another property called list all to no, and I'll show you that in a minute. Why do I do that? We do a little quick pop-up. That's that little alert, and I did that because when I was having all this trouble figuring out why my keyword was not showing up in my property.keyword, I just needed something, and pop-up was, to me, the best way so I could see that it was actually being captured. And of course I just crashed the app. So we'll let that restart. There's Knox's disadvantages. Sometimes it crashes on you, and hopefully it's not because of the application. Just I've seen it crash on just about anything, not even Codoozer or MobileCube. So when I do the on click of the image, I'm setting the property list to all, setting property.listAll to no. I do the pop-up, and then I go to the listing screen, which is that one right there. So let's go look at that in Codoozer before we start talking about events. So let's go to database, and down here in the keyword, this is where I set the source of what's being entered into the screen. And then on the image, that's where I set property.listAll equal to no. I do the pop-up, which is right here, and I can see that. What I did here on the pop-up, let me show you, because I was wanting to see what the hell was being captured, because I couldn't. My list kept being blank, and I could not figure out for what reason. And so when I put my pop-up there, I said, show me the keyword that is being entered. And it looks like I got 2 of them. I guess I can delete one of those. There we go. I said, show me the keyword, and for the longest of time it was blank, 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 blank. And I was like, damn it, it's not capturing the keyword. And then I found out why. So going back to my database, let me show you where I made my mistake. It was on the input text field right here. And I think I just told you, I gave you the hint of what my problem was. When you set up an input text, you have to say what is the source. And so this source right here, I was doing this. I was like, it's the field. And then I would put property.keyword in this field. This was gone. And I thought this was set up correctly. And for hours, it was not working. No matter what I did, no matter where I tried, I started setting the property keyword on preload just to see if it would capture the keyword, and it did. It was only when I was doing this input field it would never get it, and it was because this is wrong. It's not the field, it is the source. And you want to know how I eventually figured that out? I went to that DIY entrepreneur and watched his videos, and even the one in Spanish, I'm able to follow what he's doing on screen and saw that I had the right, I guess, syntax, but the wrong function. So I guess that was a learning lesson for me to slow down and pay attention, because I just glossed over that about 100 or 200 times. I don't know. Anyway, to continue on, when you input the text, you set your source to property.keyword. They click on the button. It does a second set, property list to all, to no, and then it does that little quick pop-up, and then it goes to the listing page, which is right here. And this listing page is the full list of haikus. So let's see if I can bring that back in here. So let's load in, I think this is the latest haiku version I exported. We'll know here in a second. I guess I could always redo it since I fixed the test on there. We'll go ahead and do that. It can go ahead and load up. It's fine. I don't care. But where I was going with this is the listing is supposed to be the entire list of all the records, and it's also supposed to be reactive. And now I'm getting a bug. How about that? So hopefully the last one loads up. Let's try this DG. I must have deleted it. Let's try this. If you don't believe me that I'm in rapid prototyping, here's the proof right here. This is all the times that I did an export APK. And I think I'll just refresh this one. It seems to be one of the later ones. Maybe it's coming up here. Get off my screen. Alright, so the list. Back to the list. Here's the list of haikus. Alright, so there they all are. And that is... Get those off of there. We need a clear notifications, like single button. Get them all off my screen. When this screen loads, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom and get to the events, because there's a packet of 3. There they are down here. Onloaded, on preloaded, on returned. So why do I have 3 events? And this took some head scratching for a while to figure out, why is my list not always reacting the same when I first come to it to when I go back to it. Let's say I'm returning to it, and when I'm on the screen itself. And what I learned was the preload will set up your screen before the user logs in for the first time or comes onto your app. So preload event means do this before the app opens. The onloaded event is fired after the contents of the screen are loaded. So if the entire database is loaded on the screen, this is the event that's going to be triggered when you want to refresh something or filter on something, and you'll see that. And then on returned could be when I give this list of haikus or records and I click on them. Yeah, and this version is broken because now it's not listing my haikus. I'm just showing you guys all a bunch of junk, but let's try this anyway. Yeah, this one's a broken version. Well, let's see what we can do. Let me at least explain this, and so when I go to try to fix it, if I can't fix it, then I won't do it on the video. I'll just spend another 2 hours trying to figure out what I did wrong. Anyway, these events have two functions inside of them, and what those functions are trying to do are filter. The first one is going to filter on the list with something in the keyword that matches or is included in the field for haiku. So let's go down there. These two events, this one, within here, these are the exact same. I just copied them down into the preloaded and then copy them into the on return. So they are all exactly the same. So I'm only going to open one and show you what it's doing. So what I'm doing here is I'm anticipating two things. One, the user has given me a keyword, or the user hasn't given me a keyword. And initially, when the app starts, I say that the list is equal to yes. And so how it knows to find this function versus this function is this if condition. So on main view, when I start my events on preload, so before the app actually is opened and given to the user, or I got that backwards. How did I do that? I think I was trying to get it to work. That should be yes. I wanted to open with all the records first. And I don't even think I need this anymore. And that was me trying to use two different keywords to fit in, or use a different keyword to force it or shoehorn it into this other property, but I guess I don't need that either. And so when the app first loads, the main view is the first page you always come to. I set the property list to all. And so when I go to listing and I go down to here, it says, is the property list all set to yes? And if the answer is no, then run this opening with the filter on the property of keyword. And then when the property list is set to yes, I want you to open and filter on index where the index is more than 0. So back on our haiku JSON, the index is my first value here. And when I say when it's equal to or greater than 0, I'm basically saying I want them all, no matter how many there are. So back on event. My goal was for the list to be dynamic, and when I hit that clear button, I'm basically setting the property list all back to yes. And when I do that, it's going to give me all the records. And when I do a keyword over here, or even on the first screen, when that image arrow is clicked, where are you at, image arrow? You're right there. So this is the same input text field. I copied this from the database screen. The source is property keyword, not field. It's going to set that property list to no. It's going to do the pop-up, and it's going to refresh the screen. And by doing that, it's able to reload, I guess, look at the onloaded and run through this logic again. So again, I put in a keyword, I set the list all to no, which is this value right here, and so it's going to find the database with the filtered keyword. There's that property keyword, and it's going to say, is the one that was given anywhere in these fields here? And if the answer is yes, it's going to give that list. So I'm going to export this again and see if I can get past that error. If not, I apologize. I think I showed it right at the beginning of the video, so somehow I had it right. Let it do its thing. Go back to our PowerPoint and just kind of make sure I've got this all covered. I had to use 3 events on the listing page for this thing to work properly, because sometimes when I return to the listing screen from another page, I lose my keyword. So I had to put all 3 of these to do the same thing. Remember, one of them is to ask the question, is this list all property equaling no or yes? And if it's yes, give me all of them. If it's no, give me the search or the property.keyword against that Haiku database field to say, are you in this list? So here's a blow up of that. Open. So this is what I just showed you. Open the database and filter on the keyword that was entered if the property list is set to no. Opens the records if the property list is set to no. And then the second function of that same event, open the database and filter on any records that are equal to or greater than 0, and if the property list value is set to yes. And that will give me all my records. Alright, so no error this time. Got lucky. We're going to go back to our emulator. It should be done downloading. APK install. And that matches my latest install right there. So we should have a good clear database now. And I'll show you the clear filter button here in a second. It's the only thing it's doing is switching the property.listAll to yes, and then refreshing the screen. That's all it's doing there. So we'll go to full list of haikus, and there's all 8. So these 2 I purposely put the word test in there so that I can see that it brings me back 2, and it does. And if I hit this clear filter, it brings me back all 8. So let's show you clear filter, and then we'll end this video. That's the listing page. Clear filter. Where are you? He's in there. There he is. Alright, so I just say when, dang it, when this button is clicked, on click, set the property list all to yes, and refresh the screen. And that's all it does. And because I'm doing that, and that my event for loaded screen, which is this, on this screen I'm already loaded, it's going to run through these 2 filters. It's going to run through this first one here and say, is your property set to yes? Which is actually the second one. Is your property list all set to yes? Well, I just did that when I clicked the button. And so it's never going to find this one when that property value is set to yes, because it has an if condition that say only basically filter if this property list is no. So back on that image that does all my work for me. I set the property list to no, and so when it comes to the screen, and let's say we're looking for this diffuse, if anyone would ever search on the word diffuse, you would click that and it would give you blew up. With that, that's fantastic. If you had fun, I know I did. I spent a lot of time working on this, and there's probably a few little bugs here and there, like that one time it didn't bring back. I'll have to kind of just keep going through all the different ways of working on these apps, and this one was hard, but I want to thank the viewer for asking the question, and maybe he can do the same thing on his Codoozer app. And just as a reminder, Codoozer is in their beta right now. So let me close this and come back to it. I want to show you something. Yeah, there it is. So Codoozer's in beta right now, and you can purchase their Doyo coins for $1. They're going to be $12 someday, so that's a hell of a savings. That's a 90% savings, and I went ahead and did it because I'm going to develop in the future using this platform, because I can tell you already right now, this is the next biggest development tool out there, especially for mobile apps and eventually websites and even server-side scripts. This is going to be able to do more than just mobile apps for Android and mobile apps for iOS. So go check out Codoozer.com and give them a try. Take a look. Do some practice like I do. Alright, well, I'm going to end my recording. I appreciate your time as always. If you learned something from this and you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Library, please go check out Library. I think on another tutorial I put a link in the description. So if you go into, not comments, I guess it's any of these, not analytics. Boy, I can't click a button if I tried. Yeah, here it is right here. This is my link to my library page, and you just take that, copy and paste it into a web browser, which I can do right now. Come over here, punch that in, hit enter, and you can go to my library channel. And library is like YouTube, but it's decentralized, and all the videos are on the blockchain, which means your content will never be removed or taken away from you. And I don't know why it's taking so long for it to load, but this is where you go to check out the different content that's available for all types of users. And this is also where you can follow. Just click that follow button, and if you are an active user of Library and you have LBC coin, if you just want to support by donating 5 coins, they're only worth like 3 cents, so it's not like it's a big deal, but it helps me gain viewership within the Library algorithm. So anything you could do would be appreciated. And with that, I'm going to end this recording. Have a great day, guys. Bye.